Hello, I'm Alexthehunted and welcome to what I consider to be the lowest point in the Godzilla franchise. A movie with a kaiju that was designed by a kid, well apart from that it wasn't, because the design that did win wasn't actually used in the movie and was heavily changed. Hell, the name wasn't even used. With a movie that was completed in about a month, and boy does it show because it has absolutely no money behind it and really relies on using stock footage. This was Toho at their most desperate when the company was so close to going bankrupt that they just made the cheapest Godzilla movie possible, with Godzilla being a full-blown hero and just absolutely desperate is what I would use to describe it, because they tried everything to make this the most kid-appealing Godzilla movie ever. He's a superhero and he's got a robot friend like Ultraman, and it's just all one big kid-friendly mess. This is Godzilla vs. Megalon. So our movie opens with a map, where we are told that there are nuclear underground testings happening that have been done by America, and wouldn't you know it, the test involves blowing up stuff, and we immediately cut into stock footage as this effect was used in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, or Ebra Horror from the Deep. It's the island that's blowing up at the end of the movie, and they've gone straight into the stock footage. That must be a new record for a Godzilla movie. We then cut to Monster Island as we get more stock footage from Destroy All Monsters, and then oh my god, we actually get new footage of Godzilla and Anguirus as they try to escape Monster Island as it is blowing up, and Anguirus falls into a fissure. Poor Anguirus, he even loses to the ground. Godzilla roars and looks to be buried in the explosion. And opening titles, and I hope you liked that Godzilla clip for the brief 50 seconds that he was there, because that's the last you're going to see of him for the next 40 minutes. So after our opening credits we get, oh god, our Kenny of the movie, and he is riding what I can only describe as a dolphin paddle boat, which if I was a kid this thing would have been awesome, with two men watching the young boy get wet. And they're our main characters, Goro and Horishi. They're having a picnic and enjoying the rocky hard surface, when all of a sudden an earthquake happens, with light starting to come from the lake, and it cracks open, with dry ice pouring out of the water, with the water rushing away and the kid being dragged towards the hole. However, Goro just so happened to have brought his rocket with rope with him, just in case this sort of thing happened. And as you know, it's standard to bring a rocket with you when you go on a picnic. So they fire the rocket and save the Kenny, but not us, because we have to deal with him for the rest of the movie. And we also get a much more tragic loss. The paddling boat! No, it was awesome and it sacrificed itself. Truly we have lost a great hero. I will remember you. So the two watch the lake being drained away completely, leaving a chasm and a new tourist attraction. Then they drive home, in a cool beach buggy. They hear over the news that there was a huge earthquake all across the Pacific because of the nuclear testings. And we don't actually see any of this massive devastation that was caused by this earthquake, because bloody hell, they didn't have the budget for that. But be sure, the news tell us that happened. They get home only to find that the door is open, and we find out that they live in one really weird house. Seriously, why do they have giant cubes hanging in the entrance? Oh, and that they've been broken into by two people who just beat them up for good measure, even hitting Kenny, which everyone applauded. So Horishi wakes up the other two and finds a strange white square, but quickly gives chase to the bad guys, in a day-for-night car chase. The bad guys driving a Mercedes 600 Grosser. I bring this up because this was most likely the most expensive thing in this movie. The bad guys make their escape by blowing up the road so they can't be followed. As we cut back to Goro as he looks over the mess, and we get our first look at his robot. You know how I said in my Invasion of the Astro Monster review that one of the characters had a really annoying dub actor? Well, boy did they raise their game for the Kenny voice actor.
Those guys really made a mess of my room too, but why?
It's one of the most whiny voices I have ever heard in one of these dubs. So Kenny, while cleaning up the mess, finds some funny red powder, which must be another clue to who these people are. Or it's a brand new drug. Either way, win-win. So Hiro gets home and they have some coffee. Yes, even the small child. And they look over the red stuff and wonder what it could be. Well, I just wonder how weird their house is. Seriously, what kind of sofa is this? Like, it's a hole in the ground that they just sit around as a seating area? It's just really weird, this whole house setup. So they take the red powder to some scientists and they find out where it came from, which turns out to be from the Easter Islands. But then we also get a montage of industry, with Goro working on making things and building a better tomorrow, with this creepy thing. Hero comes back just as Kenny rides off in a baby rider and rides away hopefully into oncoming traffic. Hero looks over the new robot and Goro shows off what it can do. Goro giving it the name Jet Jaguar. Why did he call it that? I don't know. However, the bad guys were listening the whole time and they bring their plan into action as they follow Kenny in their car. Yep, two men stalking a small child in their car. And this was the 1970s. Next thing you'll tell me they were working for the BBC. So the two kidnap Kenny and they take him back home, just as Goro is giving exposition about Jet Jaguar. The bad guys raid the house and Jet Jaguar accidentally headbutts one of them, which given how pointy his head is, I'm surprised he didn't impale one of them. But the bad guys just shoot the other two with knockout gas. The bad guys then get in contact with their leader in the city of Seatopia, where we see... Oh my god, just look at this guy. Honestly, how can you take him seriously as the villain? He looks like he just rushed out of the shower in his towel. So we see the great matte painting of Seatopia, and also hear that they worship a god called Megalon, who they plan to wake up and destroy all humanity because basically they've been destroying all their land with nuclear testing. And they're kind of sick of humanity blowing up all their shit. But instead of just going up to the UN and say, hey, we live down here, can you stop doing that? They decide, no, it's got to be the wrath of God. And they perform their ritual with the sexy clanswoman to awake their god Megalon.
Megalon! Megalon!
Ugh, what? I'm trying to get some
Wake
sleep.
up! Megalon!
Just give me 5 more minutes.
Come on, rise up now!
You don't need to shout, I'm still hungover from last century.
Go on! Megalon!
Oh jeez, fine, alright. So Megalon wakes up like all good kaiju should, with a huge explosion. And the great god Megalon rises up and waves his spikes around, posing for the camera, and then starts to fly up to the Earth's surface. So Kenny and Inventor Guy get tied up in a crate, and we get this really awkward shot of the camera going up Kenny's leg, like it's a really seductive shot you usually see in movies when there's a sexy female. You know, it starts from the feet and goes all the way up to the head, but this is of a small child. So yeah, this is really, really creepy. And after that Japanese perving, we see that Rex Dart Eskimo Spy has been tied up in the home with the henchman, with his really, really rubbish haircut. As he activates Jet Jaguar and sends him to fly off because, you know, of course Jet Jaguar can fly. Shut up, don't ask questions, he can fly, okay, just deal with it. We cut back to Kenny and the Inventor as they're failing to untie themselves, as we see that the crate is atop a truck, with two guys and the other henchman who is Pavarotti. Oh, and do you know this is a kids movie, aimed and filmed towards kids? Well, you know, look in the back of this lorry, you see some really lewd pictures of women. Right on display. Right in the back of this lorry. And it also makes me feel like they didn't notice this. That they just picked any random lorry off a set and just used that, didn't thinking to look inside and see, well, that. But the lorry drivers don't really care about what's in their cabin or in the crate, because they're getting paid 1,000 yen, which is about $900. I mean, yeah, sure, but you have to split it, so that's $450. Okay, yeah, that's a great price for some smuggling. Anyway, the henchman starts talking to Rex Dart and gives us exposition about Seatopia.
They managed to create their own oxygen supply, and later were able to construct their own sun.
I have several questions, mainly starting with how? So Awful Hair Henchman blabs the whole plan to Rex Dart and he escapes, getting into a fight before making a run for it, driving off to see if he can find his friends, while they're bumping around in the crate. Awful Hair wakes up and radios his boss to tell them that he, well, fucked up and the hero knows everything. So we then get a car chase with Rex Dart being chased by a red car and a bike. And this is where we get some really fun editing, as it is just all over the place. But what they do with such a cheap budget in this car chase is actually really fun. They drive down some stairs, they go through a quarry, the bike does some stunt driving, they drive basically off the edge of a cliff. And we finish it off with a red car driving through a building and just getting stuck. And with the biker crashing and getting paint poured all over him. And it's even complete with some wah-wah music. So just then Megalon arrives and Jet Jaguar flies around him to guide him towards Tokyo. And the military just know the drill by now as they deploy all their stock footage to meet the monster and try and stop it, but we all know how well that'll go. Also, Pavarotti is thrown out of the truck and the men try and ditch the crate off a dam, with our heroes inside. Only for Megalon to show up with some bad chroma key. I mean, look at that, you can see the cut. But the drivers run away before they can finish the job, as Rex just shows up, somehow knowing where they were. Megalon destroys the dam, causing a lot of rushing water, which is probably going to fuck over a lot of the cities. But then the truck gets his attention, and he sharpens his claws, ready to smash it up, only for Rex to drive off, for the crate to fall off the edge of the truck, and Megalon to just hit it into the air. It goes flying with our characters inside, crashes into the wall, and our characters are absolutely fine. They should be dead. But no, they are absolutely fine. They're just a little dazed, of course. Because physics. I mean, there is no human way that they could have survived this. They don't even have any broken bones, they're not even scratched. They just got launched 50 feet into the air in a metal crate and they just landed on hard stone ground. And they're not even bruised. These guys should fight Megalon because apparently they're indestructible. So with Megalon being directed by Jet Jaguar, they need to retake control of Jet Jaguar. Luckily, the inventor just so happened to have made a remote control device if the main computer ever went down. However, it only works in line of sight. So they have to get up close to him. However, the military engage Megalon and it goes about as well as you'd think. The military weapons do jack shit to Megalon and he just destroys them all. It's funny to note, however, that the military never share the same shot with Megalon. All the stock footage of the tanks and the weapons being used are all taken from other movies. Even repeating the laser scene from War of the Gargantuans, which was already used in the last Godzilla movie, Godzilla vs. Gigan. Even Megalon's horn beam looks identical to King Ghidorah's gravity beams. They're just using the same shots over and over, the tanks being blown up or melted. Just goes to show how low a budget they had that they couldn't even afford new tanks to blow up. So after blowing up all the military, Megalon goes for a play, skipping along the ground and goofing around. Remember, this is Seatopia's god. This is your god, people. So Inventor Guy goes to the military to get them to give him a helicopter so they can fly up to Jet Jaguar, who is about to fly into them, but the inventor manages to order him to stop just in time. Inventor Guy then orders Jet Jaguar to go and fly off and get Godzilla. Oh yeah, he's in this movie. It's almost like he was put in this movie last minute and he's only there to be in the fight scene. So with the robot no longer under their control, the Seatopian leader quickly gets on the phone with his buddies at the Space Hunter Nebula M and asks them if he can borrow Gigan. You know, it's like when you ask your mate to borrow your car. You say, hey, can I borrow Gigan, your cybernetic monster? Sure thing, here's the keys. And also Megalon, with no one to follow, is having a bit of a freak out. This is your god. Imagine what that can lead a guy's having trying to explain this to his followers. Okay, now, Megalon's just having a bit of a tantrum right now, and please take us seriously. So after Megalon fights some stock footage of some jets, blowing them all up, Kenny and Rex Stars arrive at a model store, for some reason. And hey look, they're using the same model of jet that the military are using against Megalon. So this is where the Japanese military get their equipment from. Oh yeah, and they also just steal the stuff from the store. So remember kids, when there's a national emergency and the stores aren't locked, just feel free to go and loot the stuff. So after that, Jet Jaguar finds Godzilla, and what the hell is he doing? He's holding his hands together like a mom does when they're watching their son play football. The fuck is that? So Jet Jaguar can talk to Godzilla, just go with it, it's that kind of movie, and tells him to follow along to get Megalon's bug butt. And the two set off to save the day. We then get some Megalon city destruction, and it is just stock footage at its most blatant because Megalon is never seen in the city. He never destroys a single building on screen. They're just using stock footage of Ghidorah the three-headed monster, and I swear I've seen this industrial complex blow up so many times. Hell, I don't even care that much because the lighting cuts from night to day so often. They even just use a clip of Gigan kicking a bridge, and they put Megalon's roar over it. Anyway, Rex, Dart and Kenny go to their home and launch an attack to retake their home. Throwing a model plane at the bad hair henchman's face is quite a strange attack, but it's somehow effective. They beat him up and retake their home, only for Megalon to get close, and they try to take the bad hair henchman with them, but he just runs off and he ends up being killed by a falling rock that Megalon just blew up for some reason, crushing him and killing him and his terrible hair. Meanwhile, the stock footage of Gigan has arrived, and he flies towards Megalon, right as Jet Jaguar lands to meet with the gang. However, Jet Jaguar starts acting without commands, even giving the thumbs up and just starts flying, not listening to his creator's commands.
I think I know what must have happened. He's programmed himself for survival. I built that into him.
Do you know what you've done, you fool? You've created Japanese Skynet. This is the face of our destroyer! Jet Jaguar flies off to Megalon and lands, and then he just grows to Kaiju size. How does he do that? Well, the inventor has this amazing explanation.
I guess he realized he had to hold the monster somehow. So So he just programmed himself in some way to increase his own size.
Fine, he can just do it. So Jet Jaguar walks up to Megalon, who is just as confused as the audience, and decks him good, starting the fight. And this is by far and away the highlight of the movie because it's just so much fun. Oh, and Inventor and the guy drive up to the huge battle where they could easily die from being fallen on by a giant monster, stepped on, or having an attack miss. So they just stand there watching the fight as Megalon starts to fly round and around Jet Jaguar, which of course, because he's a robot, gets him dizzy. Yep, a robot with an AI can get dizzy. And then the two of them start rolling around on the floor, which is supposed to look like them fighting, but looks like something else. I mean, this is Japan after all. Oh, and Godzilla and Gigan are still on their way, as Megalon digs under the ground and starts to jab Jet Jaguar's feet from under him. However, Jet Jaguar grabs the drill and pulls Megalon out of the ground. Megalon looks like he's getting his ass kicked right until Gigan arrives and slams right into the fight. And so begins the best evil kaiju double act with Gigan and Megalon. With Jet Jaguar outnumbered, he tries to fly away only to get blasted out of the sky and get his shiny metal ass beaten up by the two. Things are looking bad until Godzilla arrives, and he's still quite a way away. So yeah, Jet Jaguar's not looking good, he's still getting his ass kicked. It's kind of funny how they play this triumphant music with Godzilla coming, but it's cutting to Jet Jaguar getting destroyed. Oh hey Godzilla, you're here. Would you mind hurrying up? Oh god! Ow! Ow! They're slicing into my metal skin. Why? Why was I programmed to feel pain? So Godzilla finally arrives and he goes into full Godzilla Kid superhero mode. I mean, there is nothing left of the original Godzilla left in this. His personality is full-blown superhero now. So Megalon and Gigan attack Godzilla, who has no issue beating them down. Seriously, considering the last movie how badly Gigan injured Godzilla, it's amazing how easily Godzilla just beats these two down. It never really feels like Godzilla and Jet Jaguar are on the back foot in this whole fight. Godzilla learns from his fight with Kong to pick up a tree and starts to beat Megalon with it. And it looks like that's that. Both of the evil kaiju are just down with very little effort. Only they were playing dead, with Gigan knocking Godzilla into the stock footage from Godzilla vs. Gigan, which took place at night, so now suddenly the fight is taking place at night, and Gigan does his whole slicing Godzilla's attack that he did in the last movie. Meanwhile, Jet Jaguar is busy ground humping Megalon, and he and Gigan fly off. So now the fight is over, right? Nope, it was just another sneak attack. Gigan hits Godzilla in the head, and Megalon jabs Jet Jaguar in the foot. Megalon then lands on a cliff and starts to taunt Godzilla because, well, what else has he got? I mean, he's been spending this whole fight getting his ass kicked, and he's just going to get his ass kicked again. Also, they turned on the wind machine for this particular part of the fight, and the camera is also really hard to follow what's going on. Also, the editing is really fast and just all over the place. And considering this was a time when digital editing wasn't a thing, they had to do all these cuts by hand. I just have to feel for the guy who had to edit this. We then see Jet Jaguar getting his ass kicked by Gigan. Jesus, Jet Jaguar, we only cut away from you a minute ago and now you're on the floor already. And Gigan threatens to slit Jet Jaguar's throat. Because as we all know, robots have throats. That doesn't work as Godzilla just blasts Gigan with his atomic breath. However, things change as Megalon just starts blasting bombs all around them, surrounding the two in some kind of ring of fire. There's a joke to be made there, but I just can't think of what it could be. Anyway, the two are stuck in this burning ring, and it feels like we're going to get to a cliffhanger, like this is some Adam West Batman. What's this? Our heroes are trapped in a towering inferno? Will they escape this blazing bonanza? Or will Megalon and Gigan win the day? Find out now! So Jet Jaguar remembers he can fly and carries Godzilla out of the ring, to the other two's amazement, and Godzilla just starts blasting the two with his atomic breath. The two try to make a run for it, but our heroes won't let that happen and they just start beating them up. Jet Jaguar breaks Gigan's arm, which is a bit unnecessary, and then throws him up into the air, Godzilla blasting him with his atomic breath. Gigan then choosing to get the hell out of there, leaving Megalon to fight alone. Well, I see more lay there. I mean, he's not fighting them, meaning he's beaten. He's just laying there. They could just leave him alone. But no, Godzilla gets into position and does, well, this. This is up there with Godzilla flying as the most ridiculous move Godzilla can do. How the hell can he do this? I have no idea. Physics is just Godzilla's bitch. It's just how awesome he is, and it's just such an awesome move that he does it twice. And with that, Megalon books it out of there, and Seatopia gives up, blowing up all exits, and giving up on their whole world domination plot. So with the day saved, Godzilla and Jet Jaguar shake hands. A shot so iconic they did it again in the games. It's not really that weird a moment considering where Godzilla is now. He's a child-friendly, evil, butt-kicking hero now. Really, he just needs a cape and the whole image will be complete. Out with that, Godzilla just leaves. He's done his contractually obligated fight for this movie, he's out of here. Leaving Jet Jaguar to shrink back to normal human size, and decides to go home. Inventor guy saying that Jet Jaguar would come back to save the Earth if that day ever arose. This is Jet Jaguar's only movie appearance. But hey, let's end this whole thing with a Jet Jaguar theme song. Yes, he has a theme song. And that was Godzilla vs. Megalon. What a piece of shit. But it's the best kind of bad movie because it's so entertainingly bad. All the kaijus don't act like giant monsters, they act like superheroes or supervillains, with Megalon especially being the absolute star of the show because he is hyped up as this huge godlike character and then he just acts like a child, skipping and playing around throughout the whole movie and getting his ass kicked. He acts like a small child, not a demigod that's going to destroy the world. And then you've also got Jet Jaguar with a really goofy design, but is also a joy on screen every time he is there. With Godzilla and Gigan filling the other two kaiju roles very well. You can tell this was when Godzilla was at their most desperate. Toho were desperate to keep Godzilla relevant. So they've just gone full-blown Godzilla as a superhero now. And, well, you've got bland characters with annoying kid characters, and this movie wears its cheapness on its sleeve. It is just such a cheap movie. You can tell how quickly this thing was made. This was one of two Godzilla movies to feature on Mystery Science Theater 3000, and you can just tell. I think it's the best way to watch this movie, is to just riff it with a group of friends or watch the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode. It is just so bad. I mean, Godzilla has gone to full-blown superhero now, kid-friendly superhero. His design has gone to big anime eyes Godzilla. It's just so far removed from how he originally was the Destroyer of Tokyo. Yeah, this is a bad movie. Watch with friends and just laugh at it. But yeah, with that review out the way, let's head back to the wheel and I will see you guys next time when I review... Godzilla vs. Mothra, Battle for the Earth. I will see you guys then.
人が作ったロボットだけどジェッジャガージェッジャガーやったねジャガー行け行け平和を守るため